Hello again. In this video, I want to demonstrate how to use maps and sets in C++. And in the process, I also want to introduce iterators because they get used a lot in C++. Of course, when I say introduce, I mean that you are going to see me use it and I'll try to give brief explanations of what I'm doing. But as I have mentioned before, I can't teach you C++ because that is going to take a lot of efforts. And there are already a lot of resources out there. So you get to see me use C++ in solving these problems. You are going to see me use iterators, sets, and maps, but you have to learn the basics yourself. And I don't think it's that hard either. If you do have questions, please leave in the comments and I'll try to answer it. The question that we're going to do today involves map reversing. So if we scroll down to the sample input and output, you are given a name, followed by a list of food that the person ordered. You then have to reverse the map so that for each food, you have a list of people who ordered the food and you have to print this out. By the way, if you don't know what a map is, I've made a video covering maps. It's based on Java, but it's pretty much the same thing. The link will be in the description, so you can watch that first if you need to. But otherwise, that's all you have to do for this question. So it's actually quite simple. I'm just going to read the input line by line, and I make the mapping as I go. So when I read the first line, I'm going to map bacon, eggs, and spam to Alice. And then when I get to the third line, for example, I'm going to add David to eggs and also to spam. So that's pretty much all you have to do. Make a mapping and then print it out. But of course, we're going to do that in C++. So let's get it set up. I already have the input here. Okay, so I'm going to start by reading in the number of lines. So int n, cnn, and keep on going until we hit a 0. So while n is not equal to 0, keep on going. I'm going to input n again here. Okay, so for in I to n, what do we have to do? Okay, so these are the cases. I know I'm going to read n lines, and we're going to read the first string as a name. So string name equal to name, and then we're going to read the rest of the lines with, well, for example, we're going to be reading bacon, eggs, and spam. So here's the thing. If I do this in Java, I can just read the rest of the line and then do a split based on the spaces. But as far as I know, C++ doesn't really have an easy way to do splits. Well, there is, it's just that you can't just call .split. Of course, you can do this in the old-fashioned way, as in you go through the string and separate it manually based on the spaces. But I'm going to show you a simple way to process strings. Like you can actually tokenize a line by grabbing the strings. I'll show you what happens. I'm going to need the library ststream, and I'm gonna make an object of type stringstream. It's called ss. First we need to get the actual line, so I'm going to go string line maybe, and then the command is get line, cin line, and when I make ss, I'm going to give it that line. So what is this string business? The way I imagine it is like this. You are making a stream. So imagine you're giving your line to someone, which will then type it back to you. Why would you do something like this? Because I can write this while loop with this command. Sorry, I need string s. Then actually, do I already have s somewhere? No, I don't. Okay, so you may have seen this kind of code before. In the previous video, I was doing while cin arrow s, meaning that you will keep on trying to grab a token or grab an input from the standard input until there's nothing left, and then you will get out of the loop. You will exit the loop. This time, I'm going to try to grab a string from the string stream until there are no more strings to get. Well, your string stream, this SS, is just a line. Right now, well, if you look at the first line, it contains bacon, eggs, and spam. So if I use the arrow on it, this would be just like someone typing in bacon, eggs, and spam in one line, and then you grabbing all the strings. So every time you execute, well, first you're gonna get bacon, then you're gonna get eggs, then you're gonna get spam. I guess we can give it a try. Why don't we just output S, which means you will get all the food names. Okay. Okay, see how that works? We have all the food names. So this correctly convert the line into a bunch of string. You may be asking, why not just read the whole line using the cin arrow s? Well, we can't actually do that because if you have, let me write it here. If you have while cin arrow s, it can't recognize a new line. So it will read the whole input until, well, pretty much until the end of the end of the input, really. The reason why we put it inside a string stream is because we want to limit the input to just the line. So I'm converting that line into a stream. So this is how string stream works. Okay, so we have the name and we have the list of food. So now we need to make a map. For each case, I will need a new map. So put it here. I'm going to need a mapping from a string to a set of string, because for each food there may be more than one person, right? So let's write that down. I'm just gonna call it M, and let's clear this up. Now this is probably the coolest part of using maps in C++. If you want to associate the food to the name, then all you have to do is do ms equal, actually no, that's a set, so I have to call .insert name. This is the shorthand notation, so the longer version requires you to do m.insert, and then you have to make a pair. You can read about it on C++ preference, but generally this is just so much easier to do. It's just so easy to use the array notation for maps. So this is going to find item S in the map, and the great part of that is that if it doesn't exist, it'll make a new item, and then, well, it's going to make a new set and then put whatever the name inside that set. If it already exists, if the set already exists, then it's just going to insert name there. So it's all done automatically for you, which is why maps is so great in C++. Well, at least I think it's easier to do than in Java, for example. Because in Java, I have to check if the mapping exists, and if it doesn't, then I have to make the set and everything. Here, like I said, you just say ms. So if I can find a mapping of S to something, then I'll get whatever objects be mapped to. I will get the set. And if I can't find the mapping, then it's just going to make me a new set and map S to it. So that's just great. Okay, the map is done now, so we have to print it out. I guess we'll do that outside this for loop. And here's how you traverse through a map in C++. I'm just going to use auto because I don't want to write down the whole type. It's actually pretty long. I'll show you the original form after this, and you'll understand why we want to use auto all the time. So let's call it X, and I'm going to traverse through M. Now this X is kind of special. It's not just the left hand side of mapping, it's not just the right hand side of mapping. Each X is actually a mapping. So it will have a left hand side and the right hand side. In this case, it's gonna have a string and a set of string. To get the key, you do x dot first. To get the set, like the right hand side, you do x dot second. So that may be a bit weird, but that's how we do it in C++. Because again, each element of a mapping is a pair object. There's actually a class called pair in C++, and it has the first element and the second element. So what are we going to print out? We're going to print out the left hand side, the key. So cout x dot first, no new line, and then x dot second is going to be a set of strings. So we have to traverse through the set of strings. Gonna use auto again. Name x dot second. Okay, and then we just print them out one by one. Name, actually space followed by name, no new line, and after you print out the list of names, you print out the new line. So let me go down a bit. Okay. I need to print out a new line between the outputs, but for now, let's just test it. Looks good. That doesn't look good. Oh, sorry. I was showing you what happened before, like with cin. So I convert that to I changed ss to cin. I forgot to change it back, so it should work now. Okay. Let's compare it to the output. So I need to put a space between spam and Diet Coke, but other than that, this looks good, right? Yeah, looks the same. Okay, so let's add that space. How do we do that? Okay, if n is not equal to 0, then something else is coming, and I'm going to bring out a new line. Okay, that should be it. Should I submit this? I'm going to try to submit this later, and if there's a problem, I'll let you know. Actually, I'm just going to pause the video and submit it now. And I'll get back to you if there's a problem. Okay, the code got accepted fine. So I'm now going to show you how to traverse through a map if you do not have this auto notation. So auto is kind of new-ish. It was introduced, well, less than 2 decades ago, but like back in the 90s, I don't think they have the keyword auto. And when I learned C++, I don't know, at that time, people, they're kind of like, they don't want to use autos because it's like, oh, let's not trust the compiler or something like that. And this is how we make iterators through a map. So what data type is X? X is an iterator through a map. So how do you, what do I think about, like, what is an iterator? I guess an iterator is like a pointer. So you have a collection, you have a map, like it's a bunch of pairings, and imagine you have like an arrow pointing to each one of them. That's how I think about iterators. It's not pointer in the C++ or C or C++ term of the word pointer, because that means an address. So an iterator is just like an object that points at something. And the way we declare an iterator for a map looks like this. So it's a map from a string to a set of string iterator. And then the way we traverse through the map is for it, that's the name of the variable, equal to m.begin. That's the beginning of the collection, the beginning of the mapping. That will give you the first pair. It is not equal to m.n, it plus plus. This will iterate through the map. So actually, I'm just going to comment this out because I'm going to do the same thing. Let me just compile that, make sure I got everything right. Okay, good. And how do we iterate using this form? Well, it's going to be the same. Like, you will still do it.first and it.second. The difference is that now this it is a pointer, so you can't use dot, you have to use the arrow notation. Again, this requires you to understand what pointers are. Basically, it is not the natural pairing, it's a pointer to that pairing, so you have to dereference that, and then you can do dot first. I'm just going to try this out like that. And instead of writing star with brackets and then dot, the shorthand way of doing it is by writing by using the arrow notation. That's just a C++ thing. So if I compile that again and try to run it, we should get the names of the, well, just the food, I guess. Okay, well, twice because we printed out twice. So back here, just use the arrow notation. And then for the second one, to iterate through the set, I need an iterator of a set of string. I'll just kind of call it it2. And then to iterate to the set, I do the same thing. This time it's going to be it2, and the set's going to be it second. So it second.begin. it2 is not equal to it second.n, and then we do it2 plus plus. Oh boy, need more space. And then here, what am I going to do? I'm going to print out the whatever it2 is. Again, this is a pointer, so I have to dereference it. What else do I need? I need space before that. And then line here. Okay, so one more time. Let's try to compile. Whoops, I'm sorry. What am I doing? Okay, run it. Okay, should not be a new line here. Okay. Okay, that works again. Is that the same? Did I make a mistake? No, it looks right to me. So there you have it. Two ways of traversing through a map and also a set. But as you can see, there's just no contest when you when you compare the old style code and the new style. Like, look at this mess and compare it to this. I mean, the number one reason why I use auto is because I don't want to write this like long line just to declare an iterator. It's just a pain. You can make it simpler actually. There's like a halfway, like a compromise you can make. You don't have to declare the type of IT up here. You can do it here. So you let C++ automatically deduce what IT is. This should also work. Yeah, it's also fine. And of course you can do the same thing here. You don't need to write this whole set iterator and just write auto here. But of course, these days we prefer to use the I think this is called range-based for loop. I mean, you still want to have this sometimes though, because I guess with an iterator like this, you have more freedom because you can go forward, you can go backward. But with this kind of loop, you can only go forward. So let me maybe write this up like this. Okay, so this, I guess, is a lot better because you don't have to worry about the type of the iterators. But yeah, depending what you need to do, either use the first version up here or use the second one. And that's it for this video. You learn about iterators, you learn about how to traverse through a map and a set, and also the bonus of stringstream, which converts a string or a line or whatever into a string, which you can then read in again using the arrow notation. This is really useful. I use it quite a bit. Well, not all the time, but when there's a string processing, this usually gets used. Okay, so that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.